This orientation module will address the use of research databases. A good place to start before jumping into a research database is to get a really good understanding of the target population that you will be doing your research on. Oftentimes the target population might be defined by the course or the course assignment, but oftentimes instructors will also leave this up to student choice or preference. So one of the very important issues to keep in mind in trying to understand a population, especially from a social work perspective, is how do these issues of race or ethnicity, gender, LGBTQ status, age, disabilities, or socioeconomic status affect how this population may be marginalized. So with those thoughts in mind, a good place to start is with some of the professional knowledge bases. And there may be several times in which an article you're reading immediately jumps to statistical issues, makes assumptions about what somebody might know about statistics. So if that applies to you, then a good place to start would be about stats. And this was a website initially developed for journalists to help explain statistics to them. But as you see in this drop-down menu, it provides a really brief overview, and or if it's been a while since you've taken research or you won't be taking the research class till a later semester, it's a way to help understand statistics that might be presented in any number of different journal articles. So once you do that, the following are some of the primary research databases that you'll use in the social work program: social work abstracts, PsycInfo, Medline, and sociological abstracts. And all of these databases can be accessed through mulibraries.missouri.edu. So let's do a quick tour through these databases with the issue of elder abuse. And let's look at some of these terms, not all of them, to see what kind of results we might expect to receive if we were to enter them into these different databases. So let's go to the MU Libraries webpage, and on the home page you'll see a link to databases. You can click on that and you can either enter in the name of the database or you can do databases by subject. So if we come down here to social work, we'll see that social work abstracts is listed right here. You'll also see that PsycInfo is listed, as well as sociological abstracts. So clicking on social work abstracts, if we are to enter the term elder abuse, and let me make this a little bit larger. We see there's 183 articles. Now there's most likely you're not going to read 183 articles, and I would never recommend that you do that. So let's limit this to something that may be of interest to you or part of your assignment. And let's say that you might have an interest in interventions that are done, and you'll see that the database as EBSCOhost wants to try to help you, and you can see interventions as a term. So we click on that, and we see there's 49 articles. Now these 49 articles, I would most certainly recommend that you at least read the abstracts and to see what the article is about and to see how it might fit within your research interest and or the interest of what your paper needs to be about. Okay, now let's do the same thing with a different database. And let's come over here and let's do PsycInfo instead. And let's see what kind of results we get. Now we do the same. Now it's searching PsycInfo, and let's click on search. And we see even more articles. But you'll also notice that these articles are different from the articles we retrieved when we used the social work abstracts. That's because different disciplines approach these issues differently. So let's say within interventions you're primarily interested in mental health. So mental health interventions that address elder abuse. So we do that and we see the numbers down to 101. And you can further refine these results by only looking at academic journals, which is down to 66. And almost always your professors will ask you to try to restrict these to academic journals or peer-reviewed journal articles. And you'll see that there's some several interesting articles that deal with this topic. Now let's go back to sociological abstracts and see what we might experience there. So here again we have the term elder abuse, and let's add intervention and see what we get. 370 articles. But you will see that these articles differ as well from PsycInfo and social work abstracts because they're going to approach the issue from a sociological perspective. And another way that it differs is that oftentimes you will find policy issues addressed in sociological abstracts. You can find them addressed in any database, but they have a tendency to show up in perhaps a more comprehensive fashion in sociological abstracts because you're looking at how policy affects society as a whole. And you'll see 59 results. So again, you just don't want to be thinking about your clinical or direct practice classes, that these databases also can be extremely helpful in some of your macro and administration and planning classes. And then we could do something entirely different altogether. And that is one of the terms I strongly suggest students use if they're very new to a field or they would like to learn more about something, but they're not quite sure how to go about jumping into the water. So one of the things that I recommend is, let me come back here, is to also add the term qualitative. And qualitative research has a habit of describing the issue from the person who's experiencing it from their perspective, which I think social work students find very helpful. And you see when I type that in, this time ProQuest is saying, hey, I have that already for you. So once you click on qualitative research and elder abuse, and you'll see right here, 72 results. An excellent place to start when trying to get a better grasp of this subject and how this issue is experienced. And again, you want to limit it to scholarly journals because they're going to be more readily available, and they will more likely than not be peer-reviewed journal articles. And you have 43 articles that, again, you would want to peruse the abstracts to see how whether or not these articles might be pertinent to your interest. And the nice thing about ProQuest is you click on, just move your cursor over preview, and the abstract summary automatically pops up. So now some of you are already thinking, wow, I want this article. What do I do? Well, you just click on Find It, and it will take you to a link to the article that you can then download to your computer. And then you say, well, what about the citation? Well, that is another orientation module in and of itself, and that will be prepared for you to review shortly. Okay, so returning to the slides, additional search strategies that you want to use is to cross-tab your population with various social issues. So for example, in those additional fields, you want to add poverty, violence, drug abuse, also include rural, because that's a pervasive issue in Missouri that is largely rural. For example, you can do methamphetamine and gender and rural and poverty. And I strongly encourage you to do that using two different databases, PsycInfo and Sociological Abstracts, and you'll see that they return two very different types of article sets. And then you can also add in socioeconomic status, SES, and also rural. And then much like you would use qualitative as a search term, is if you're still learning the language of a particular population or issue, then I encourage you to use issue-specific knowledge bases. So for aging, you'd want to go to aarp.org. For gay and lesbian issues, the taskforce.org. Many students are interested in food security and food insecurity issues, especially as they're related to poverty and mental health issues. So sites related to that would be Feeding America, National Farm to School Network. And then if these issues disproportionately affect ethnic minority populations, you might want to check out the NAACP site as well. So again, if you're new to an area, want to learn more about the terms used, the issues that are being dealt with, I would encourage you to use these issue-specific knowledge bases. And then you also want to make use of statistics that are unique to Missouri. A lot of the journal articles will talk about national statistics, and then you want to be able to apply those to how they might be occurring in Missouri. So there's several excellent resources to do that. One is OSETA, Office of Social and Economic Analysis. That's on campus, but you can access their resources via the web. So here's the OSETA website. The Missouri Census Data Center. Again, all their information is available via the web. You don't have to be on campus to access it. There's also the Missouri Statistical Gateways, which provides you access to a lot of different types of statistical resources beyond census data that might be helpful in better understanding the number of people in Missouri affected by various issues. And then another generalized database would be the Information for Practice database. This site was put together by Gary Holden at New York University School of Social Work, and it's an excellent resource that delivers information about interventions, services, programs, policies for social work practitioners that I would also encourage you to be familiar with. And then there's one more resource, and probably the first one that you thought about when thinking about looking for articles was Google. I use Google all the time, and more importantly, I use Google Scholar a lot because sometimes it retrieves articles that may not be indexed the way that we need them. So For example, let's say we want to do adolescent meth use, looking at gender and rural issues and poverty issues in Missouri. If you were to do psych info or sociological abstracts, you may get very few or no returns on those hits if these terms aren't indexed in those databases. But let's try Google Scholar and let's see what the results might be. So pulling up Google Scholar, and yes, I have a shortcut link for it. And let's put those terms in and see what we get. And with Google Scholar, you don't have to include the "and" term. It assumes that you mean "and" if you include all these terms. And look at what we get. The very first hit, looking at rural behavioral health services for children and adolescents, ecological and community psychology analysis. And reading this article, you'll see that it does deal with, mentions Missouri and deals with Missouri. You can also include, also limit it by time frame, and see that it changes slightly by looking at the importance of prevention services in rural community. Again, this makes mention of Missouri. So even if you would want to check with your professors, but I would almost guarantee that most of them would be okay with using Google Scholar as long as you also checked the other databases as well. But you'll also notice that Google Scholar doesn't have the other tools that the other databases have in terms of being able to limit it to particular types of articles and other search tools that you'll have available to you. But it is another resource that you can be thinking about. So and then the next to the last slide is social justice. And these are also terms that you want to consider including. Most articles don't deal with social justice explicitly. You have to go looking for it. So what would that include? You'd want to see if strengths are mentioned. Is the article only talking about problems or needs? Do the articles also include strengths or assets? Does it talk about culture? Is that mentioned as an issue to address? And then include other search terms like privilege, oppression, diversity. Are those issues considered at all? So for example, in Google Scholar, if you were to add the terms low income or social justice or meth in social justice, what kinds of results might you see? And please do that, and I'll tell you now that you're going to be surprised. So in closing, there are many electronic resources available at your fingertips. These resources can potentially return thousands of articles. So you need to have a plan now to retrieve articles that align not only with your assignment requirements, but also your present and future professional interests.